I think if you read the ICF rule book, it says something like a distance race can be between 5 kilometers and 30 kilometers or something like that, which is kind of quite rogue, I think.
Welcome to Paddlecast with Betsy
and Billy. On Paddlecast, we talk to and about paddlers who are pushing the limits, paddlers who are pushing their own limits, and pushing the limits of paddle sports.
Today, we are recapping the SUP World Championships from last weekend with the legend that is Michael Booth.
And then we're talking to Bevan Manson, the winner and organiser of the Harbour to Harbour race, 100 miles in South Africa from Richards Bay to Durban. This is a really cool race that I'm really excited about.
Let's start with the SUP World Championships. More than 400 athletes from around the world raced in Abu Dhabi last weekend at the ICF Stand-Up Paddle World Championships. To help us talk through the racing, we have a very special guest. Welcome, Michael Booth.
Thanks for having me.
So I expect most of our listeners are familiar with you, but just in case, let's just take a minute to brag on your behalf. Michael Booth, or Boothy, has a number of world titles in SUP, including the 2019 and 2022 ICF World Championships in long distance, as well as a very long list of other top results in races including the Euro Tour, the Carolina Cup, and more. But your paddling background originally was in surf lifesaving, sprint kayaking, and surfski racing. And I think you still do quite a bit of surfski racing, although we didn't see you racing at the Worlds in Durban.
No, it's too much for me these days, having the family and a few different things going on. So I would have loved to get over there, but having the ICF World Championships for the stand-up, a couple of weeks after, it was a bit too much.
So you have been a huge part of the SUP racing scene for a very long time. You topped Chris Parker's SUP Racer World Rankings in 2019 as the best male SUP racer in the world. And if any of our listeners don't know you for your results, they probably know you for your training program, Booth Training and Boothcast, your podcast.
Yeah, I have done the Boothcast for a couple of years, but I'd like to bring it back. Having the two little ones has been a lot of work, but yeah, it's something that's on the cards for coming forward. But yeah, no, Chris's SUP Racer World Rankings were the thing that we all looked at, like more than the ISA or the ICF or anything like that. It was always about topping those world rankings at the end of the year. So that was something that was a very, very cool thing that Chris Parker did.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard a lot of, I think there were a lot of paddlers in Abu Dhabi on your training programs as well.
Yeah, the programming's been going really well over the last, it's been like 8 years now, 8 or 9 years since I started coaching people. And it's just something that I really enjoy doing. It's something I get a lot of satisfaction out of, like helping others, with the experience that I have from the different sports that I've done and, seeing them get great results, seeing them improve, reaching whatever goals that they try and achieve. And yeah, I've just been lucky to have people who are interested in sort of listening to me and following my plans. And yeah, we've had some great successes over the past nearly decade.
Wow, that is very cool. So let's get into Abu Dhabi. I watched the racing on the live stream, and there were some pretty big upsets and also just some really, really cool moments on the water. You were there to compete in the long distance race on Sunday, but luckily for all of us spectating, you ended up getting into the commentary box on Saturday for the tech racing finals.
That was something that was really fun. Rob messaged me, about a month out, whether I would like to come in on one of the days to commentate for an hour. And it just seemed to flow quite well, actually, between Matt, Rob, and myself. We sort of had different insights that we could give. And yeah, it was just something that was nice to do. You feel involved even though you're not racing. And, just something where you can help give insights to everybody watching. And hopefully it was a lot helpful for everybody listening along.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I think especially for you coming from both that elite paddler and probably the coaching background plays into it too. Just like hearing your insights about what's going through the racers' heads and things like that it was very insightful.
Yeah, it's always very interesting watching everybody compete and can see different things about to play out before they play out. And yeah, it's exciting. It's quite cool to watch.
It is really fun. And the tech racing, I would say the tech racing is my favorite to watch. I think it's just like the most exciting. There's a lot of action happening. That said, the men's distance race this year might have me changing my mind because that was great spectating too. Because you were right there in front of that tech racing, commentating on it, what was your favorite moment?
Ooh, there's a couple, but I'd say my favorite moment was probably Aaron's final surge around Shuri in that last, I guess, leg or part of the race between buoys 6 and 7. I sort of was watching the race, and you could sort of tell it was going to happen after the first buoy turn. Aaron got in there, got comfortable. Shuri didn't get away, and if you look at the different strokes between Shuri and Aaron, Aaron's probably got a better stroke for upwind paddling. It's a bit longer, it's a bit stronger, whereas Shuri's got that high cadence, which really works downwind when you're in clear water and with current. But having that little bit more drawn out stroke, you could see Aaron, if he could turn and get a clean turn into that final leg, he was going to come around him, and he did, and he blew him away. So it was very, very impressive to watch.
Wow. Oh, that's really, yeah, the difference in strokes playing a role there. So you saw that and you were not as shocked as the rest of us.
No, like if you actually watch the commentary, I say it between like buoys, like between 2 and 3. I'm like, if Aaron's sitting, I think I said like something like Aaron's sitting pretty here. I think if he can hang on
Yeah.
to Shuri over these next few buoy turns, he's going to make a surge in that final bit, and he did. He played it really smart. He sort of was able to relax throughout that course, and Shuri was pushing really hard. But I think I spoke with Shuri after the distance race a little bit about it, and he was saying, like he had to also protect the lead, not only from Aaron but from Rai as well, because if Rai sort of came up, like there's different strategies that you got to play out. But unfortunately for Shuri, he didn't get that gap, and then it's sort of the same thing that happened to him in 2024 with Noik sort of paddling past him, happened in 2025. So I'm sure he'll be sort of back analyzing his performance and trying to work out where he can improve for next time.
But I think Aaron's just really sitting pretty here. You might see a bit of a surge from Aaron on that final stretch if he can maintain and hold on to Shuri in this last part of the race.
Aaron Sanchez now sprinting, trying to overtake the young Japanese.
Oh, this is incredible paddling by Aaron.
Aaron Sanchez in the lead now. He's gonna be crowned. Yeah. Aaron Sanchez, campeón del mundo. Oh my God, Aaron Sanchez, the winner.
I also really enjoyed the junior boys finish. If you remember that one between Tatsuma Nishikawa and João Lourenço Pimento Viveros.
Yeah, they were sprinting to go to the finish line. I think just the whole junior racing scene is quite cool to watch. Like we never had that, a decade ago when we started. I started paddling stand up when I was 24. So to see the depth in the under 18s or the juniors is quite incredible. And like so many of them, like you look at Sergio in the 200-meter final, winning first year opens is something that's really awesome to see. And like it's not like an old guys sport anymore. It's a lot of young people coming through, and those different nations like Greece, um, Japan, Spain, France for a patch there as well. We're really pushing those juniors. So yeah, it's all great to watch. And some of the names I honestly don't really know until I was sitting in the commentary box learning them, and I was sort of saying their first names, not their last names, because I really couldn't get all the pronunciations right. But yeah, it's fantastic to see.
It's incredible. I actually had a friend message me and they were like, are those time differences correct between like the juniors and the open category? Like, how is that possible? And it's just, especially coming from, I think looking at like marathon or sprint kayak, we don't, you really see that open category between sort of 23 and late 30s, right? Like that's pretty much who's dominating most of the racing. And so then in SUP to see so many like 18 to 20-year-olds who are
Yeah.
doing so well against the seniors, it's amazing.
Yeah, well, you got that like Chilak as well. Like she obviously made a mistake in that technical final and had a fall at the start, and then
Yeah.
bounced back the next day to win by something like 3 minutes in the marathon
Yep.
race. So Yeah, there's just some incredible young performers, but ultimately Shuri was winning 16 or 17, maybe 17, maybe he was winning his first world championship. So I don't think age is really the key here. It's just about when you develop and how much time and energy you got to put into it and how professional you can be towards the sport. And I think that's something that is very different now. When I went through, we were very fortunate to sort of be in, I guess you'll probably look at it in a few years' time, like the heyday where it was like a lot of money was getting pushed around in the sport and there was lots of different opportunities and, there's more privately run races and probably more income for the top end athletes, whereas now it's very much gone to a federation-based sport and the federations that are funding the athletes have got more athletes there. So yeah, there's lots of different phases in every sport, but we're definitely noticing a change. But even if you don't just look at the juniors, like the masters performances were awesome as well. Like to see 50 plus
Oh yeah.
women like absolutely charging. I remember one of the television crew guys was like, these ladies aren't 50, they're too fit, and I was like, oh, they're just machines. So yeah, it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. And yeah, it's got a really healthy age group racing scene. I'm loving the chat about adding like a 60 plus category. I think you had some 60 plus racers in the 50s category too who did really well.
Yeah, well, not actually at this one. I didn't. But in previous years, we had lots of guys, and actually, it actually deters a lot of them. I would say there would be a lot more 60 plus athletes there if they did have a 60 plus category. But that is a big deterrent
Yeah.
for those guys. Racing someone who's 50, it's kind of like a 11-year-old racing the 18-year-olds. It's not really comparable. So it's just the opposite end of the spectrum. I even had a couple of people talking to me when I was at the event, and they were saying how they'll train harder next year because they go into the 50s, so they're the youngest. And it's just a big advantage. So yeah, no, I think the Masters competition actually at ICF is fantastic because you have that broad range of people and athletes there. I find it a bit more exciting than say ISA, where it's just like a small collected group that that gets selected, and it just doesn't have the same vibe as something like that's got like the masters competition and the junior competition. So that's something that I really like about the ICF event.
Yeah, a lot more people, a lot wider kind of variety.
Yeah.
It's very inclusive. And you're not going to El Salvador, right?
No, well, with the 5 or 6 week notice, I can't do it anymore. Being 34 and just having a bunch of different things on to try and get myself to El Salvador, it's a really hard place to get aboard. Like I did have the option to go with a wild card from Surfing Australia, but yeah, it just was just impossible. I remember they emailed me like, "So you saw the announcement? Can you let us know within 24 hours if you can go?" And I was like, "I need longer than 24 hours to work out whether I can
Oh
get to the
my
other side of the world."
God.
And yeah, look, it's just not possible for me at this stage. But it is great to see that people are going, and it's great that the ISA is putting on an event. But it's not like this is new. Like they've been doing this for a decade, putting on events
Yeah.
like at the last minute, and I don't know, people still go, so I guess they don't really care. They can just do whatever they want. And but I do like that it's in surf. Like I think that's something that's missing from a lot of events these days. We've only got really flat water races. There's no, downwinds or ocean racing or like racing through waves. And I think that's a bit of a shame. Like I understand that there is a flat water component to the sport, but I think, having the balance between both is fantastic. Like I still have fond memories of events like PPG and those type of events, or Battle of the Paddle when it was originally called. And yeah, it's really good. That's why I wanted to go. I almost considered swapping ICF over ISA just because it was going to be in waves at a surfing place, and that's kind of what I've grown up with. Having a surf life saving background and always being in the ocean. So that does excite me a little bit more than the pure flat water events.
Well, I think, yeah, as you say, that's what keeps people going back.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of people who love the flat, and lots of people love the surf. So I think you just got to find the one that you like, and just hone into those races. I don't get to do too many races anymore because, I'm a bit older, got more commitments. But yeah, if I can find a race that I really enjoy, whether it's flat water or whether it's in the ocean, I'll definitely jump on board and get to it if I can.
So let's move on to Sunday's distance race. This was the big event for you, particularly coming off last year's Worlds, where you had a bit of bad luck and broke your paddle. But it looked like you made up for it with a really good race this year. Talk us through it.
Well, leading actually wasn't perfect. For whatever reason, this is like the sickest I've been in winter here in Australia ever. But I know it's because my son is in preschool, so he just constantly brings home illnesses, and as you know, as a father, you just get sick so much. It was just really frustrating off season, and just coaching a lot now. I've got like a swim squad in the mornings, most mornings, and then I surf train in the afternoons with the kids. So I actually did more ski paddling and gym work than I've done previously. And I actually didn't get on my SUP very much, so I was very, very nervous going into the event. More so that I just didn't want to embarrass myself. Like I didn't have that expectation of winning or anything like that, but just going in there and just putting a good performance together. I just say like last year I broke my paddle, which was very, very frustrating. I trained quite hard for that race and I thought I could actually put in a decent performance, and that was pretty heartbreaking. And then the year before I picked up Guardia when I was in Thailand, and just didn't have any energy when I competed. So yeah, it just was a bit of a frustration, like just 2 years in a row, like after winning in Poland and sort of having a great year there, and then just not having any ability to just have a good race. So my goal actually was just, put in a good performance, like a little bit underdone, but just be able to finish the race knowing I couldn't do it anymore. And I was able to do that. Like the start, there's probably like 80 or so people on the line. I was very conservative off the line. Like I didn't push very hard. I knew, like, sort of based on sort of the previous years, and in flat water there wasn't really a lot of pushing going on. And everyone sort of went to the middle of well, not the middle, but like a little bit to the left of the canal or the river or whatever you call it, in the where they cut out all the sand. And I went across to the side to get out of the current. I just sort of paddled my way up to the front, and that was quite good for me. Sort of got to the front, in that front sort of 3-4, and turned, and there wasn't really too much happening after that. Like there was a few surges from Rai or Shuri just to sort of see and check the pace. And I just sort of my goal was just to sort of stay on their wash as much as possible. Not try and race like I used to race and sort of push the pace and try and do attacks and all that sort of stuff. I knew I didn't have that in me. So I said in the commentary, I think just race like an old man and just try and conserve as much as possible. And I actually turned. I think there was 3 turns to go, and like on the second last mark. For whatever reason, there was myself, Shuri. I went to sort of like the tail of Shuri at that point, and then there was Rai, Donato, and Aaron, and Rai for whatever reason just had a poor turn and pushed everyone wide. And I sort of turned that last mark like second, and then Shuri just went, and I got dropped, and there was lots of wash and stuff, and I just couldn't maintain. So I had to make a decision at that point to sort of back off a bit and just sort of wait for that next pack to catch me so I could conserve a little bit, and then go for it again. So that worked out for me. Finished seventh. Probably where I would have finished. Maybe I could have got six if I pushed a little bit harder in certain areas in that last lap. But overall, I was very happy with my performance, and to see sort of all the racing going on, and actually to be a part of it again was quite nice.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's good that you've analysed it, and you think actually you're pretty much not much you could have improved on at any point in the race. That is always nice to do, really, isn't it?
Well, the only thing I could improve on was getting on my SUP a lot more, and doing more training. But for whatever reason, this year just hasn't been realistic. But it definitely gives me confidence going into racing in future years, and just about linking up some months together where I can actually train properly.
Yeah. So you mentioned being on the wash there. When I watched this footage, I noticed that the formation of the wash groups is different to what I'd expect coming from marathon kayaking. So normally in marathon kayaking, we're in a pretty pyramidal shape, like a flock of geese flying. Can you talk people through the drafting of SUPs?
Yeah, so in like marathon kayaking or even surf ski, there is a diamond wash. So you sort of have the person in front, and then the two either side, and then one on the rear. Now, for whatever reason in stand up, whether the length of the board, the width of the boards, there's no real diamond. So you can't really sit there. So generally you'll have like person at the front and then 2 trains, like that will probably hover off the tail of that, those 2 outside guys. Um, if there isn't a true sort of triangle at the front, then like there might be one person in front, one on the side, then there's generally like a trail for a little bit. But again, everyone will go back to single wash. It's just too difficult to sit on that sort of side tail. Just doesn't really give you any advantage, and you end up just expending a lot of energy trying to stay straight and that type of thing. So but you also have like different parts of the race, like people are obviously foxing and using strategies to allow themselves, different advantages. People want to get to the inside a lot of the times at buoy turns. They want to, get in line. So if someone attacks, they can actually react and stay on the side and then get pushed to the tail instead of just being on the tail and then getting dropped. All these little things, I guess people are thinking about throughout the race. And I think you even saw Shuri on the last lap. He just sort of stopped paddling and then made the other guys lead. And, there's all sorts of that sort of stuff going on because you can't really get away, especially if you have like that top end speed. Like those top 5, 6 guys are not going to really paddle that much faster unless someone makes a mistake. So yeah, that's generally, I guess, how people line up in the stand up. But you also got the big wash train packs. Then you'll have like a big, if there's enough people wide, you'll have like a couple of waves that sort of run off the back of the SUP. So you can kind of stay in there and surf, but generally being wider rather than on the inside is a lot more efficient.
Interesting.
So I've got to ask about the final moment of that men's race, because there was, I have to say, a bit more discussion online and on social media than I was expecting. But people had a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. You were obviously finishing your race, but I know you've watched the footage back. So it was Shrimpy versus Rai in the final sprint. They're coming up. I'll put the video into this video version of the podcast so people can see it. So they're coming up. There's this yellow can. You can go either side of the yellow can. Rai is in the lead. Shrimpy is just next to him, maybe 2 feet behind or something. And then you've got to go straight, and then you've got to take a right turn around that last buoy. And you'll be able to see it in the video, but essentially Rai's in the lead. He maybe is sort of pushing to the right of that yellow buoy. And then Shrimpy's on his right, so he's a little bit to the right. And then basically Shrimpy decides he doesn't want to be pushed to the right, puts in a sprint, gets ahead of Rai at that yellow buoy, and Rai ends up squeezed just a little bit between Shrimpy's board and that yellow can when Shrimpy puts that sprint in. Shrimpy wins the sprint, gets the final buoy first, takes the turn, and wins the race. What did you think about this moment?
I actually don't know where I watched it. Did you post it? Was that you who posted it? And
I
that's
did,
how I
yeah.
saw it. Okay, yeah. I actually didn't read any of the comments or
Probably.
anything like that. I was half asleep on the plane, I think, when I watched it. But no, I remember talking to Ryan after the race, and he was like, the person in front gets the lead or something like that. And as far as I know, like in the ICF, it's just the judge's call. So there's no in ISA, you basically got this priority rule, like whereas the person in front gets the lead into a turn or something like that. So if you're like your nose is behind their feet or something like that, you can't do anything. But because that yellow mark was just a marine mark, it wasn't part of the race at all. I don't know how that would factor in anyway. But if we go back to the moment, for me personally, just watching it, I'm pretty certain Rai's in front and Shuri comes from like the left and then goes around to the back and then comes to the right because he wants the inside for that final buoy, which I think we kind of spoke about before. But from my perspective, I feel like Shuri just sort of stays on his right and keeps paddling, and Rai kind of is on his right too. And then instead of switching and sort of trying to push Shuri back or bouncing or doing something to like affect it, Shuri's just got the run of momentum and just seems to outmuscle him. It didn't seem like there was really much to it. Like it didn't seem like Shuri was like it wasn't if like Shuri got his paddle like sort of like hit Rai or like pull off Rai or something like that, I'd totally understand. But he didn't do that. He just paddled and it seemed like Rai just got pushed out. Unfortunately for him, he did look a little bit tippy at multiple points in that race. Like even like, that third
Yeah.
last or fourth last mark when he turned, he went really wide. Even falling on that final buoy, he sort of ran into Shuri and fell in. Well, that's at least what it looked like from the video.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, maybe his legs got tired, my legs get tired and I fall in. Like even on my last buoy turn, I just rail steered it because I thought I was going to fall in if I did anything else because I was so tired. But yeah, for me, like there wasn't really much in it. I don't think. I just think he got out muscled and Shuri played it smart. He learnt from the day before. He rested. He sort of stayed back a little bit more and then surged over the top of Rai, similar to what Aaron did the day before. So yeah, for me, I didn't really notice much in it.
Yeah. Just good old tactical smart racing.
Yeah, like if you watch marathon kayaking, like people are running people into all sorts of stuff. They don't like particularly veer like aggressively, say, into a bank. But I remember watching, I can't remember which marathon race it was, but there's so many, but they're all veering each other into different things. Like they're not necessarily doing it on purpose, but there's not they're not giving people
Well,
like
they
heaps
are.
of
They
room,
are.
like on purpose. Yeah, but like they're not, right?
Well, like it's just a, you know, you don't come, you can't, you don't let people come inside you, and
Yeah.
you know, you let them know, you know, if there's something there, you know, you can use it.
And like refresh my memory, but I don't. So I only watched it like once, and as I said, I was really tired on the plane. But he doesn't run right into the buoy. He just like squeezes him, right? Like there's like a little bit less room, but he's still
Yeah.
got room
No,
to get the
there's
board through.
no, and he's got his paddle in. I mean, I think maybe arguably Rye misses one stroke or something. It's not like Shrimpy takes a detour from his line. At most, it's, I think, like a squeezing, as you say. It's definitely not like a aggressive turn or anything.
I think Jasper Mock got disqualified. Yeah, in an ocean ski race. I think it was in Portugal or Spain one year, maybe in Alicante when they had the World Champs there, and like back in 2013 or something like that. I'm pretty sure Jasper Mock got off the mark. It was Tim Jacobs with him. He like ran him into the break wall and then turned back to the finish line. And then he got penalised or disqualified for that. But that was like blatant. Whereas I don't think this is blatant. This is just an out muscling.
For me, it was a very strange part of a very strange like few seconds to not really defend your position. And if you've got this feature of the course, just make sure you just protect your position for the next 2 boat lengths, and then you're clear. And
Yeah.
then you can drop back and safely. You know, yeah, there's a feature of the course that you're coming together. You're going to be squeezed together. Just defend your position.
At that point, he's probably very, very tired as well, right? Because he's had a surge
Yeah.
off that second last buoy to like attack and get away and get that length, whereas Shuri's weighted back. He's going, I'm going to get to the inside, so I'm going to switch sides. And then he's attacked. So like he's done it like kind of at the time when Rye's probably like maxing out, and he's got no more energy to like lift again, and Shuri's lifting and sort of like out muscling him at the same time. And then obviously like the mark is off to the left, and then Rye's probably it's like Connor used to do it all the time, like especially like he used to go like inside of the mark by like 20, 30 meters, and we used to all do it. And then you shoot back to the buoy, so like nobody up your inside could get the mark. So I say that's what Rye's tried to do, and then Shuri's like sort of countered it and pushed back towards the mark. And unfortunately for Rye, he's just lost out.
Yeah, I think Alba Frey did that at the end of the women's distance race, and she took a very inside line coming into that final buoy, and then just as you say, right at that last second, pushed out, took the inside, took the bronze.
Yeah. The inside's always going to give you like half a length on that turn. So if you can get up side by side, yeah, the turn's pretty much yours, and you'll be able to get to the finish line first. But yeah, that's racing. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't see
That's
much.
racing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you keep mentioning everyone being really tired and tired legs, even yourself. But the distance race was actually quite a bit shorter this year than in recent years. So Abu Dhabi only had a 10K distance race. And I get that people push harder the shorter it is. It's not, you don't have to have a really long race to have tired legs. But do you think this distance worked in anyone's particular favor? Do you personally have a preference for longer or shorter races?
Well, in my era, I guess, like from say 16 to early 20s, it was always 18 kilometers or around that mark for World Championships. Like a lot of races in Europe might be shorter, like races on the Euro Tour, races at APP when it existed. Like they were always sort of around that 10K mark. But a true distance or a marathon, they used to call it, would be always 18 to 20 kilometers, something around that mark. So the championships that I won were around those distances, and I think if you read the ICF rule book, it says something like a distance race can be between 5 kilometers and 30 kilometers or something like that, which is kind of quite rogue. I think needs to be a bit tied up there. I think there should be a standardized distance. But for whatever reason, like everything these days, everyone wants everything to be shorter, everything to be faster. Like even having the 100-meter sprint now instead of the 200. The technical race, traditionally was always like 5 to 6 kilometers, multiple laps through waves, all that sort of stuff. And now it's 1,000 meters, sometimes it's 800 meters. Like if you look back at Hungary, I think it was around 800. So, I don't make these decisions. I prefer, the longer tech race and the longer distance race because that's kind of what suits me better. But I'm also not the voice of everybody else, so I don't know what everyone else thinks. But the final day at ICF does feel a bit jammed in. There's a lot of events on the final day for whatever reason. I think they can definitely move like the junior kids sprint races. They should be done, at lunchtime or something like that. You know how you go to football games and they have like the kids running around at halftime. I think that would be cool to run like the kids sprints at the same time as the seniors and the masters. It seemed like there was enough time on those days. Same with the technical. There was like a technical run, like at sunset on the Sunday for the junior kids, and there's a picture. It was just sort of thrown together, so that probably move as well. And maybe the inflatable racing, like just have like a full day for distance racing, so then they can probably run a little bit longer. I assume it's just all down to time. They have so many different races, but I'd like to see it pushed out again. I think last year it was 12K, the year before it was 16. In Gdynia, I think it was around 16 as well. So, yeah, I honestly just think it's purely they shorten it for a time limit thing. I'd like to see it go back to 18 because the race used to start at 10K. It didn't used to finish at 10K. You know what I mean? So there's different races that can still sort of match it up in the shorter stuff, whereas pure like endurance type racing, like begins after at least an hour. Like even ocean ski races, they go well. The Ocean Ski World Championships was 33 kilometers right this year. It's been 18 kilometers before when it was back in Perth, and but they're still hour 30s roundabout. So and obviously over 2 hours when they did it over in South Africa recently. So I would definitely prefer it to be longer. I think they should go back to 18 kilometers, at least for distance race, and have like one, distance event instead of sort of making everything a sprint. Like next year, we might turn up, it might be a 3K distance race, who knows? So we just want to make I think there just needs to be distance. And I think, when you look at younger people and I don't know, the general audience these days, like everyone wants everything really quick and, the world of Instagram and TikTok and 15 seconds and all that sort of stuff. So I understand that, but I think there still is a market for endurance racing. You look at, events like Chatterjack, events like 11 City Tour, they have massive field still because people want to go and have a challenge and be able to race for a period of time and train hard for something. So yeah, I'd like to see that rewarded. I think 40 50s would definitely agree as well. So yeah, I don't know, that's just my opinion, and as I've learnt over time, not everyone cares about my opinion. So I just sort of I'll just voice it like everybody else, and they probably won't listen to me anyway, so that's okay.
For me, if you're going to have a long distance event, it has to have that element of endurance, and you're going to need to work, that system of your body. It needs to be, like you say, over the hour, getting towards, hour and a half, where you're really having to pace yourself early in the race. And, that for me is an important aspect if people are going to claim an event's a long distance race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's got to be, something that's longer than everything else. I think it should sort of stick to that original format. But yeah, as I say, like lots of different things change and adapt, and the different eras and the different people who are running things want to change things. And I'll turn up whatever it is for for a few more years, I guess, and I'll keep racing and I'll keep trying to enjoy it. Like I think the event's fantastic, even just the ICF event. It's run really well. Lots of great, organization. The setup's good. The event, across the juniors and the opens, masters is fantastic. There's so many great people. Just getting to go around and talk to all these different like-minded people who love paddling and love stand-up and just enjoy it as much as I do. So yeah, I still like going to all these events. Obviously, little personal preference for how long things are, but as I said before, it's just an opinion, so I'm not sure if it has any weight.
You said earlier you're 34. I'm a little bit older, but have you noticed your top end just starting to dip?
Not sure, to be honest, because I still do a lot of life-saving stuff, and I don't really feel any slower yet. Like I speak to a couple of the older boys, and they sort of said like 35 was kind of their mark where they get a bit slower, but I've always kind of been slow, so it's hard for me to I can paddle reasonably fast, I guess, but like I would never like even if you go back to 10 years ago, I was like like even a dozen years ago when I was kayaking, like I was so slow over 200, like but over 1,000 I could like hold the pace. So I make a C final at nationals in the 200, but I go close to top five, top six, or whatever it is in the 1,000. So different energy systems, as we spoke about before. Like I could always maintain threshold. Like even I remember like swimming when I was 14, I could do like a 200 free at like 156, but then as soon as I won't go over to 400, I'd actually slow down a bit. So yeah, it just and my 50s and 100s wouldn't be that fast. So I don't know, just there's just different things that suit different people, and but yeah, I don't really know that I'm getting slower just yet, but I definitely don't train as much, so it's hard for me to value that. There's not really a good comparison.
Yeah,
I
that's
should do
true.
a
Yeah.
full 3 month block, and then I guess I could see with a bit more consequence or a bit more understanding of what's actually happening. But no, I haven't actually noticed anything too much yet.
Well, that's good. But so you've gone and you've done Abu Dhabi, you did the BCN SUP Fest, you did Lake Rocks earlier in the year. Of everyone you've raced against this year, who's impressed you most?
Who's impressed me most? Like, well, Shuri's been the dominant competitor for the last few
I
years
should have said you're not
in the
allowed to
men.
say shrimpy.
Yeah, he's just very good across like anything that's a little bit longer. Like he's obviously not the best sprinter, but I think that's very difficult to be. You saw Sergio win this year, and I think it's Vadim and Crater, like ex-canoe paddlers who
Yeah.
Yeah.
got second and third. So it's only really in the women's and the ICF where you saw Marie Carmen do the three, which I don't think anyone's ever done across men or women since the
Yep.
ICF formats existed. So that was very impressive to me. In the women's, obviously, it's very impressive to see Esperanza still winning, into her early 40s, and sort of being dominant. Interested to see. I'm not really sure why she wasn't there at the ICF this year, but I think there's something personal going on. But that she's been very impressive just to be able to continue her winning ways over the past, few years. In the men's, I think Aaron Sanchez is always very impressive. Just obviously seeing his technical race, he's always there in the distances. Not as much speed as probably in previous times, but as I said, there's like that sort of transition phase where you've got that sprinters really coming to the fore, and you've got to kind of be specifically training for that. Like you don't see in swimming or running or anything like that. The 100 guys or the 50-meter guys that aren't doing the marathons or the 400 free or anything like that. So there is those different energy systems and the different specific training that's going on. But yeah, I think, those people that I've mentioned are probably the stance for the year. Like obviously seeing Rai come back, like he was obviously very strong over the last few years, been strong for a long time as well. And yeah, I think just seeing the junior guys coming through as well. I think there's lots of really cool aspects of their performances that are going to sort of shine through. And as like all those nations that are putting a lot on. Like I think I saw the photo of the Greek team that won the overall teams challenge, and they're all really young people. And yeah, it's just fantastic to see.
Yeah. And you mentioned Csalag earlier too, who's one of my big standouts, young Hungarian woman. She is just, I mean, I think everyone had her down to win the technical. That was really surprising. But the extent to which she dominated the long distance race, 3 minutes, right? Like that is just unreal. I mean, she would have been up there right at the front of the open women's race. I think that would have been a great race to see. I think we'll see that next year, which is going to be really good.
I think what was cool across the juniors, like there was different winners. It seemed like in every single race, like it wasn't like
Yeah.
someone was dominating the whole way through. So that was quite cool to see. And just the different nations that are represented, like it seems like it's a heavy European focus at the moment, like with Japan sort of falling into that as well. So I think there's some exciting things to happen over the next few years, and these athletes sort of getting fostered as young people into the sport. It's gonna be cool to see where the sport goes to over the next few years.
Definitely.
Well, before we wrap up, I'm going to have to get a surfski question in here. You're based in Western Australia, and we're only a few weeks out from the famous race week. I think you're actually the poster boy on their website. Have you got plans to race? And, what are you looking forward to on it?
Yeah, the Shore and Paddles WA Race Weeks is my favourite week of the year. Usually I'm away, so it's quite awesome that ITF have pulled their event forward this year because there's usually a clash. I'm usually, flying in from somewhere, or I'm really tired and jet lagged. So it's always like, or I miss half of the week because the ICF race is either on the start of the week or the end of the week. So that's been quite cool that I've got nothing. I've got like 3 weeks to just sort of paddle and get ready for it. The wind's starting to come in here now, so we don't have the winter fronts and stuff, or there's still a couple coming through, but we're starting to get some nice winds, and hopefully it sort of lasts for the whole week this year. It starts with the IOP race, the West Coast Downwinder. That's 24 k's down the coast from Port to Fremantle. Port Beach in Fremantle to Sorrento. Then during the week, you got the Dr. Ben Hewitt Sunset Surfski Series on the Tuesday, Thursday. On the Sunday this year, I think we got the Race 1 Downwind Challenge, and then on Wednesday they got a Twilight Challenge. So there's all sorts of stuff happening, and then you got the sprints on the Friday, Doctor on the Saturday. So it's actually a really big week of racing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do every race, but I've entered for all of them, and I'll see how I go. But they've also got it's not just surfski this year. They've got prone racing. They've got foils involved. I'm sure you can enter if you want to do on a SUP, but there's just not that many people paddling SUPs over here these days. So yeah, no, it's something I'm really excited and looking forward to. Are you guys coming over? You should be booking your tickets.
No, not coming over.
If Sean Partners wants to talk to me, I will answer their call at 3 a.m. I have to ask one last time, because we have talked about your preference for longer distance, and you did mention the ultras, but I'll plug the ultras. I am going to be at Last Paddler standing, commentating in a few weeks, which I'm very excited about. And I think the ultra world would love to have Michael Booth.
It's not on the bucket list at the moment. I don't think my wife would let me go and paddle for more. It's sort of been coming down. Once the kids get a little bit older and I'm sort of probably in my 40s, I think I'll be doing more of those bucket list type races. I think there's plenty out there that you can get involved with. Like I've always wanted to do 11 city tour as well. So I'm sure I'll get to that event at some stage. The Chatterjack obviously as well. Got a couple of guys I'm actually coaching to do Last Paddler standing, like John who didn't win last year. I got to coach to that, so that was a bit heartbreaking. And those type of races, I think you can do them forever. Obviously, maybe I don't go in as much of an athlete. I go in just to have fun and just see everyone and be part of the community that I spoke about before, because that's the thing that I probably enjoy the most.
Oh yeah, wow, that is very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It has been fantastic having you on. And congratulations again on your great racing at the SUP Worlds, and good luck at WA Race Week. If you complete every race, that's a lot.
Yeah, it must be. I think you do every race in that week. It must be close to 100 kilometers of racing. So it's a bit longer than the ICF distance race.
Yeah, those aren't short races, are they?
No, so yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks so much, guys, for having me on. It's great to chat to you all, and I'm sure we'll chat soon at some stage.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time talking with Michael Booth. He has so many insights about the sport. He's been in it for such a long time. That was just fascinating.
Yeah, that was really good. I'm really glad we got him on.
And now we have something else very cool from the surfski world. Let's talk Harbour to Harbour.
Yeah, this is a cool race. I saw it last year, and it was quite low key last year. They had 6 paddlers do it, and just followed it a little bit on social media, and then saw it this year, and it's definitely growing. Really interesting concept.
Yeah, it sounds like they had a few more people this year, and we talked so much about ultra distance in like the marathon world or the SUP world, and you definitely have long surf ski races out there, right? Like even Molokai, that's 5-ish hours out on the water, right? Which is technically probably ultra distance. But this is 100 miles, 11 plus hours, open ocean, way off the coast.
Yeah.
And it's a race.
Yeah, they're going pretty far out to sea. They're 25k plus. So, certainly at times they probably can't see land. Yeah, everyone knows I like a bit of distance, and distance on the sea. Like, why wasn't I there
next year?
Funnily enough, yeah, Bevan just said, you need to come and do it next year, and I'm like, oh crikey, yep, maybe.
So let's share our conversation with Bevan.
I spoke to Bevan and I asked him to just explain the race and explain why he is put on such an epic and what inspired it.
A couple of years ago, Quentin Rutherford started doing these extreme open ocean distance paddles, and he attempted and then back then broke the world record. I did a couple of training paddles with him, and since then, probably the last 5 years, we've done quite a lot of long stuff, like over 100 Ks. We also did a world record attempt together 2 or 3 years ago. He really has gone out there and been brave and taken on these 200K plus paddles. He's a true ocean waterman by heart. He's a true downwinder by heart. He lives and breathes the event. And I got involved with him a couple of years ago, and we've just looked after exposing as many people to it as we can. And these long, liberating paddles out there where you have a lot of time alone, and you're in the rawest, basically the most as deep as you can get into nature as possible, out there in the elements with whales, dolphins, sharks, turtles, rays, you name it, flying fish, the bird life. We just love being out there and the downwind element, and making sure that, we've got a whole 7 to 10 day window period, ensuring that the northeast wind that gives us that perfect downwind is available for race day. And they're two iconic harbours, both of them providing a sheltered start and finish. So on either wind direction, we get an easy start and a relatively easy finish. If you understand where you are and what the coastline's offering, you can go a pretty straight line from one to the other. The great part is that it's 100 miles. It's 160 odd Ks. And, the runners around the world, 100 mile is quite a big thing. And we're hoping to actually grow it into something more. It's definitely something people are attracted to, and it's just such a great feeling, such a nice achievement, and I think it's fairly doable for most of the guys out there.
Bevan, you're in a really lucky position where you're actually able to race despite being the organizer. How did the race go?
Last year in 2024 was our first year. We had 6 guys start and 6 guys finish, which was pretty amazing, and we just it seemed like all the paddlers and the local support and a bit of global interest, it seemed that everyone liked the idea of it. So we offered it up again this year in 2025. I think we started with 12 or 13 on the 100 miler attempt, with 9 finishing. Some of them went a little bit shorter, doing 90 or 120 Ks. There are a couple of bailouts along the way. 9 finishes this year, and seemingly another successful event. Loved by most, loved by all. A lot happens in 11 hours. As we leave the harbour, it's really, really calm and quiet, and we were sort of doing 11 or 12 Ks per hour. We kind of hung around together, the top 3, 4, 5 boats and the double a little bit. We were sort of always in sight of each other, and as the wind builds, the northeast wind that we have here builds gradually through the day. It moves up the coastline, and as the wind builds, so does the swell, and the runs get better and better, and obviously our speeds increase. But when you're approaching, when you're tackling an 11-hour race, you certainly need to conserve and be patient before you start really hammering it and going for it. Quite early on, we lose sight of each other as we start picking our own lines, and as the swell starts standing up, we lose sight of each other. I literally, for 8 hours, had no idea if anyone was in front of me, if I was in the lead or not. My last 40 Ks, the swell was really big. The wind was quite strong. My last 40 Ks were quick. My each K that I was doing, I was keeping it consistent. I was around 320, 330 average. So basically keeping it over 16 and a half K per hour average. The odd K close to 17 or 18 average, but I was consistent over the last 3 hours, and I knew I was in there with a chance. But Brett, especially, such a great downwind paddler, especially in big conditions like that. He's produced some crazy numbers before, so I wasn't really sure. I was relieved and pretty stoked to get there and be told that I was the first one on the beach.
So you are out of sight of land at times. How do you actually navigate from harbour to harbour?
Yeah, last year I probably had the best line. I was a little bit deeper than everyone, even though I ended up slightly a K or two shallow at the end, and I had to just adjust a little bit. But this year, certainly, we were a little bit too deep. I would say we need to, probably have our Garmin's pointing at waypoints that we've set along the way to keep us on a straighter, better line. We're probably a little bit too deep, which probably added on a K or two, and then sort of cutting back down to the finish at the end, may impact the speeds a little bit. But overall, the line was pretty good. I'd say maybe just a straighter line for next year.
Obviously, great race. You won the race, but was there anyone sort of putting in an amazing performance that missed the podium?
A couple of amazing performances, I guess. Yeah, the podium, as you said, was quite tight. The three of us were around 20 minutes around each other. It's pretty tight for 11 hours. But I'd say the double, John Krobler and Wim van, they're the first double to do that kind of distance. I mean, there's definitely a discussion around whether it's easier or more difficult in a double. I know I would certainly feel more comfortable in a single. Double makes the challenge, adds a couple of elements to the challenge. So I'd say the double was a great performance. And then, a guy like Clyde Berenzi, nicknamed Skinny Cappuccino, it took him 15 hours, finishing the last hour or two in the dark. Luckily, Durban's, it's a beautiful coastal city. It's really lit up well. So coming to Durban is actually quite a beautiful sight. But nevertheless, in the dark, I'd say that's quite an achievement.
So Bevan mentioned Quentin Rutherford being some of sort of the inspiration for this 100-mile surfski race. So Quentin he did have, we should say, the 24-hour record. So that is the longest distance paddled on the ocean within 24 hours by a man. And that was 227 kilometers in 2020, also in South Africa, along the same bit of coastline. And then, Billy, I know it's not a Guinness official world record, but you spoke to Bevan, and he actually broke that record unofficially. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they were both going for sort of distances, huge distances. They actually came up with Project 300, which is a pretty big aim, but no one's done it yet. So Bevan broke this in 2022, doing 243 kilometers. He does have 24 hours to do this, but he paddled for 19 and a half hours, I assume, because, it's a long day out and you'd have a very sore behind by that point. It's something that I've looked at, but it's quite difficult in England to do.
It's interesting because I think there's probably some different challenges that come with doing that on a surf ski rather than, say, down a river, right? Like that open ocean, it's harder for you to get support. It's harder for you to maybe bring all of your nutrition on the boat with you. Paddling on a river or a lake in the dark is different from paddling on the ocean in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Carter Johnson has the 24-hour river record. He averaged nearly 20 kilometers an hour for the 24 hours. And, that's down the Yukon. So I don't know what he did for nutrition and hydration. I assume he didn't really stop. Sebastian Shrubsky has got the flat water record. There's a video online of he stopped. I don't know how regularly, but there was a pontoon on the lake that he used, and so he did stop regularly, switching over bladders and taking on food. I don't know how you do it on the sea. You need a support boat.
Yeah, or to not be 20 kilometers off the coast or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it's a really cool challenge and just a fun thing to see people out doing these massive distances on the sea. I think Bonnie Hancock has the women's record, which she completed as part of her Australia circumnavigation, which was super impressive. She did have a support boat there because she had that anyway for that record, which is just a phenomenal achievement. So it sounds like the interest in this race is growing. I'm curious if any of our listeners are tempted to go, race 100 miles in open ocean in South Africa next year.
Well, listeners or co-hosts, are you curious about your co-host? Whether he's considering it? Yeah.
Or in the UK.
Yeah, I think the UK option might be more family friendly.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up then with just a very quick preview of the Ardèche.
Yeah, this is a great race down in southern France. And I'm gutted to be missing it this year. I couldn't make it work with childcare. Not to blame the poor little boy, but it's probably a good thing because it would be quite soon to return to racing with my shoulder injury. So I have lent my long-suffering K2 partner, John O'Grady, to Jason Graham again. They are fresh off a bronze medal in the Liffey. So they are going down to the Ardèche to have a crack, but there is some pretty good competition out there as well. You've had a look at the list. You going to tell us who's there?
I have. So I have dug through the entry list as much as I can, and there might be more people who entered last minute. I think entries might still be open as of our recording, but probably the favorites to win, I think it's going to be Jeremy Candy and Clint Cook, who have also given themselves the great team name of Cooking Candies, which with last names like that, you really have to.
Yeah, definitely. They could be really, really tough to beat. Etienne Hubert and Quinton Bonnetain, they could be pretty close.
Yeah, I think they're quick. And then Nico Paufler, I've seen on the entry list as well with, I believe, Andreas Betzen. So some pretty good talent.
Yeah, that is some top level. The French, a lot of talented French paddlers come out for this. We went down there 2 years ago. We had a great time, and there are some seriously fast paddlers. And they're going down some pretty big water in sort of skinny Nello E-constructions. We were in a descent boat. There are rocks there. You do not want to hit a rock in a marathon construction boat.
Ouch. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the scenery looks stunning too. This is definitely a race on my bucket list.
Yeah, I would fully recommend that. I spoke to Clint recently after him and Jeremy did the fish where they got the bronze medal, and then after that, Clint went and raced another descent race in South Africa called the Lowveld Croc. And this is a really tight technical race. You actually have to do it in time trial format because the river's so tight. Clint narrowly missed the win, but he took a wrong turn at one point because, you're going to love this. There were hippos on the course. And they put in a compulsory portage, and they hadn't put the signs out before he got there. So he was delayed a little bit at that point. But what a race to be having to dodge hippos.
Oh my God. Hippos are scary. I want to say hippos are actually like the most dangerous animal in the world. I don't know if that fact is correct. I'll fact check myself later. But
They're up there, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Quicker swimmers and quicker runners than humans. So if you ever find yourself in a triathlon against them, you've got to nail the bike leg.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. It's been a great episode. We are still looking for sponsors. Please reach out to either one of us if you or someone you know wants to sponsor and support Paddlecast. Until next time, see you on the water.
See you on the water.